Business Insights on Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson.
Did you know that most women in business are unknowingly building their empires in opposition to their bodies, and it's costing them clarity, consistency, and cash flow? My next guest, Kirstin Carey, is going to be discussing with us Our Body is Our Business Plan and the science and strategy of somatic selling and effortless income. Kirstin is a somatic sales strategist and creator of the Divine Wealth Frequency. It's a transformational framework that helps establish feminine leaders create clean, consistent, and grounded sales by aligning their business strategy with their body's intelligence. As the founder of Evolve Sales Consulting and the host of the Frequency of Yes podcast, Kirstin blends over 3 decades of entrepreneurial experience with deep training in somatic intelligence, human behavior, and sales psychology. Her work bridges the gap between high-level strategy and nervous system regulation, teaching women how to scale their income without self-sacrifice or burnout. She's a sought-after mentor for 7-figure entrepreneurs and feminine founders, and is redefining what it means to sell, lead, and succeed as a woman in business, proving that your body is, in fact, your most powerful business plan. I'm really interested to learn more about this, Kirstin. Thank you so much for joining me here on Talking with the Experts.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, tell me how you got into somatic healing. What is it?
Yeah, so essentially it's your connection with your body, and understanding we all are sensual beings, right? So we take everything through our senses. What ends up happening to us over time as we become adults is we start to sever that tie with the sensory information that's coming in, and we overthink. And women are just famous for overthinking and kind of shutting down what our body's been telling us. But once you're in like hyper mode, your body goes back into that and it hyper focuses on something. So if you're not in balance emotionally, mentally, or physically, you're going to get a skewed version of what's going on, which is why, a lot of people will go into fight or flight or panic mode, and they can't differentiate what's okay and what's not. And we learn to override that. So we push beyond where our bodies told us to stop. So in the sales process, especially when you're trying to attract the right ideal premium clients, you really need to be balanced, because they can sense that on us. And we sense that on other people. So I actually started out like out of the gate, out of my dorm room from college as a marketing person. And I had a degree in communications and business. And I started getting picked up clients before I even graduated from college. And then I got on a track where I ended up picking up some really big clients like Verizon and some really well-known companies. But somewhere in my 30s, I wasn't feeling good. And a lot of things were going like left for me. And I ended up being diagnosed with a couple of autoimmune conditions, which really stopped me in my tracks, because I thought I was eating healthy and I thought I understood what health was. And so I kind of did an about face and left my marketing consulting company and went back to school to become a natural health practitioner. So I learned all there was to know, at least at the time, about health and wellness. And what I found, of course, because I had to build a company and restaurants and wellness centers and 7-figure organization, on how do you reverse autoimmune conditions, because I just wasn't buying into you have to take a bunch of medications and suck it up and that's it. So then I started really learning the energetics of health and healing. And no one taught me that stuff. We weren't taught in high school or in middle school or whatever on how do you understand what your body's really telling you. And I was an athlete as a kid and in college, and I learned to push beyond what my body said was too much. And a lot of people do that, women especially. We take on all the things, we take on everybody else's stuff. We learn to push past what our bodies have told us is too much. So I started learning how to reverse my own autoimmune conditions, built a company teaching people that as well, and really learned how the body really functions. And so I reversed my own autoimmune conditions. It doesn't show up on any labs or anything now. I don't have the symptoms. And once I taught hundreds and hundreds of women to do the same thing, After I built that company, after 15 years of that, I decided I wanted to get back in officially to the marketing and sales world. And so I sold that company off and came back around, and now I do it with the combination of how do you build your business, but without the burning out and without hurting yourself in the process. And the somatic piece is that reconnection back to the sensory experience, the information that we all have. And women tend to be more intuitive. We just tend to shut it down faster.
Mm.
So when I can teach women how to do the same thing, where you can build your company, make more money, make more profits. And I'm a huge fan of profits over revenue. I'd rather make more money in my pocket at the end of the day than just have flowing it in and flowing it back out. I teach women how to set the company up so that it works for them rather than works against them or burns them out.
Wow, that's a big challenge, and well done to you for changing your career path so many times to get to be where you want to be, because a lot of us don't do that. We stay stuck in a career path that perhaps doesn't fulfill us as much as we'd like, but
right.
we're either told that that's what we should be doing, or we're told that don't leave because of whatever reason, or you don't start your own business because you're an idiot, and all those other things. So
all those things. Yeah.
Yes.
And women are more loyal. We tend to stay in places much longer after we knew it was no longer right. We feel bad, we feel guilty, we don't want to leave people behind, all the reasons. And so not that I don't have clients that are men, but I just found that women, we tend to fall into that guilt complex, that responsibility for other people much more.
Absolutely, yeah. And I just this morning made a decision to pause my podcast. So you're my second last interview for this year, because I was really tired after so many episodes, and I've been doing this for 5 years, and my body's just had enough, and my brain, my mental health has been challenged because I've had a really bad year. So yeah, I've had to give something up, and to try and tell 34 people that I'd been cancelling their interviews was really hard for me, because I don't normally do that. And yeah, it was sort of heart-wrenching to do that. So I understand about how burnout happens. This is where I am.
And it's usually coming for years before. And then you're also explaining something right now that a lot of women don't even recognize, which is an identity crisis. Because you're like, I don't normally do that. It's not who I am. I don't cancel on people. And that alone starts putting us in a position of who are we? Like, now that I have to cancel the podcast, or now that I have to spend more time with myself to feel this more healing process, we go through an experience where we have to kind of disconnect from the who we thought we were to the who we really are now, stepping into new phases of our lives. And so a lot of my women clients are over 40. And there's something that happens to most of us energetically, emotionally, mentally, right at like 45, 48, where we're transitioning into this like new phase. And so there's a whole shift in what's important to us and what's not, and what we're willing to let go of, and what we still hang on to with our like white knuckles, holding on for dear life. And there's a lot of shift that happens. But if you can lean into that and do it in a safe way for your nervous system, it's amazing how much further you can actually be.
Yeah, well, when I made the decision, it was last night when the decision was actually made, but this
congratulations.
Morning, thank you. But I felt a lightness. It was amazing. Like, my heart felt heavy. And then when I made that decision to not continue for the rest of the year, I felt a lightness, and it was something that I hadn't experienced in a long time. So for me, it was it was an awakening.
Yeah, and it is. And that's a lovely word for it, because it is an enlightening. It's like a ship is going down and you have too much on there. You let go of some of the weight on the ship and it can rise back up, even if there's holes that you're trying to plug up. Absolutely. But a lot of people don't see it that way. They're like, they're going down with the ship either way. And I'm like, how about we not all drown? I mean,
they're silly, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody's sitting there on their last few days on the earth looking back saying, I'm so glad I held on to all that stuff that didn't really matter in the grand scheme, right? So it's not that the podcast doesn't matter. It's just, you might be at a place where you've finished or completed what you needed from this experience. And you don't have to hold on to things forever.
No, that's very true. That's very true.
Yeah. So it's lovely. It's a great example.
Thank you. So why strategy alone? Why isn't that enough? And how does dysregulation secretly block our consistent sales?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you're dysregulated, we're all sending out signals, and this isn't woo. This is actually like super measurable. Like, this is science, right? It sounds all woo woo, but it's science. We're all emitting a frequency that comes off of our body that reaches out to about 5-6 feet directly. And then it also just transmit. Even right now, you're probably feeling an energy off of me. I'm feeling an energy off of you. And it's something that people sense, but they don't understand where it's coming from. So if you're like really upset and you walk into a room, other people are noticing it. Even if you're smiling and you look fine, we think we're faking it. We're getting away with it. But there's still this vibration that is coming off of us, right? And it comes off of the tree outside and the dog in the room and, your husband when he walks in. So we're all noticing that frequency, but it's at this underlying layer. So if you're on a sales call and you're terrified because you're not selling that well this month and you're not sure how you're going to pay your mortgage, that actually comes through in the sales call, even if you look fine and you're smiling and you're saying all the right things. So when you're dysregulated, that dysregulated vibration is coming through. So when I talk to women about what their experience with money is, that frequency comes through the conversation they're having with the potential client. It also then attracts a certain type of person onto those calls. So you're attracting the wrong people. It's going to be a harder conversation. You're attracting people who are also dysregulated. That's going to be a harder sales conversation, right? So a lot of my clients and a lot of people around the world don't have a good relationship with money. They don't know how to talk about money. They don't know how to have conversations that are regulated. And then they're also physically dysregulated, which adds a whole nother layer onto it. Like when I was a kid, we didn't talk about money. You didn't talk about what my father made. We didn't have that conversation. That was rude, right?
Yeah,
and I'm like,
absolutely.
think about that message. Like now we can't talk about money. So people, when they get to like the sales conversation goes great, they start having conversations about price and everybody gets weird. I'm like, how about we normalize that it's just a number? We've put an attachment to that number on there. So I do exercises with my clients to help them normalize having conversations around money. They're just numbers, right? And if you're hanging out with people who are constantly afraid of being broke, or people who are having, they're weird about having conversations around money, you're going to feel weird about having conversations with money. So we need to find a way to start normalizing conversations about money. And if you always get stuck at like $10,000 a month, or you get stuck at $100,000 a month, or you've never broken 6 figures in an entire year, that's a conversation that we need to have, because there's a belief that you can't get beyond it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, actually. I mean, I've got this friend who keeps telling me that my energy's not right. And I keep thinking, what do you mean? But, because I'm all smiley and, I seem happy on the outside. But she says, but we had a conversation on Monday. She says, Rose, your energy's shifted. And I thought, oh, okay, that's obviously a good thing, because, she was happy about it. But you're right. We do put out this vibration, and everything is vibration, and money is a vibration. And if we don't have a good relationship with money, then our sales conversations are going to be and reflect that.
Yeah. And people can feel it and they don't realize that they feel it. And the reason biologically that we have this vibration is because it keeps us safe. It's how we learn from day one. You have to sense the safety in what's happening around you. So you have to start connecting with the people who are caregiving for you. What's the environment like? Is this a scary environment? And you start making connections over time. And if you grew up in an environment where people were arguing about money all the time, money becomes a bad vibration for you. Right? So then money gets brought up and you start freaking out about money. You start feeling it internally. You don't know how money works, so you can't even hold on to money. Like I've seen lots of people make a ton of money and they still have nothing to show for it. At the end of the month. It's because they still have this bad relationship with the regulation of their system when it comes to money. So they make a bunch and it's gone. It's because they don't believe that it's a good thing. So why would you hold on to something that is bad?
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting conversation to have with people. But my clients are like, oh, I never thought about this stuff. And then all of a sudden their sales calls start working. They start having the same conversations, but somehow it's a different vibe. And they all of a sudden get more clients and the money starts flowing in and it doesn't just automatically flow back out. So it's a regulation physically, mentally, emotionally that they have to have.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And thank you for explaining it so well, because even in my own life, money to me has always been a taboo subject, and my energy around money is not good. And so that's explained it really well. And so I could think of ways to better that vibration and that relationship. So Kirstin, there's a blueprint for strategic somatic sales that creates clean, scalable income without the hustle and burnout. Would you like to explain that to us, please?
Yeah, so I take people through a process. I actually use human design, if you're familiar with that. I layer on the somatic process that I use. And actually, interesting, a lot of the stuff that I learned when I was in the healing process physically with people and how their bodies actually resonate. So I created an entire system where I ask, seriously, it's like 8 questions. And I create an entire document, a report essentially that narrows it all down and basically shows them where their money line is, what's going on with that, what their frequency is, and what they look like when they're in a regulated state and what they look like when they're in a shadow state or a dysregulated state. And it points it out really specifically. And so it's interesting. Every time somebody reads one of these reports, they're like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Like you were in my head. I'm like, I know, it's so fun, right? So, but it narrows it down to specifics. So then I can go through like their marketing and I can look at all the sales process that they're going through and I can look at what they're doing with their company, even who their target ideal market is, and show them why it's not working the way that they'd like it to or how to scale it faster. Now, I, of course, do that with also 30 some years of experience being in business as well. So I layer all that in. But I actually just created I call it the divine frequency money map, where somebody can go in and just fill out some of the information there that starts pulling it apart for them on their own, where they can look at it. And then if they want to go further, then they can meet with me and we can do this report and we can go through the whole process. But it takes into account pretty much everything that's in your view right now. And what are your 3 biggest challenges, whether it's your business, your life, it doesn't matter. It pulls it all in. Well, it matters, but it pulls it all in to start looking at a deeper frequency that is working against you and you may not even see it. Because everything that's going on in your life is just a reflection of something else that's in your thought process, in your sphere. So it's super fun though. But when people read it, they're like, what? How did you know that? I'm like, I know, it's super awesome, right? So I love doing that because it's where the logic of everything comes into play with all the emotional side of it. I love to kind of dance between the science end of it and the tangible, logical pieces of it and make it really structured with the flow and more of that emotional kind of component to it and bring them together and bridge the 2 pieces. Because without both sides, you're going to still be in that dysregulated state.
And women are primarily emotional creatures anyway, so they would like something that touches them on that level, I think.
Yeah, because it gives you something tangible, but it also gives you more of the emotional, energetic component, and it makes sense. Like it all comes together in a way where you're like, oh my God, I've always been feeling that. Or I never realized that was what the message was that I was missing. Or I've never felt balanced here. And it's because I've been working against what my natural rhythm would be. And a lot of us grow up in situations where you have to learn to be something that's against what your natural rhythm is to survive. And I'm not saying survive where we're all growing up in these terrible environments, but you have to survive in the environment in which you've been growing up. So if it's better for you to be logical and unemotional, how you grew up, you're going to fall into that because that's what you were taught, but your natural rhythm now is dysregulated.
Yeah.
And you don't know how to just lean in and feel safe into that natural rhythm.
Yeah.
So once I bring this in, it's like a map of who you really are. And it's like it gives permission to people to just step in. And it's amazing because they're like, this feels right, but scary because I've never really been able to fully step into it. And then they just go all in, and it's so fun because things can change really quickly at that point.
Mm.
And
yeah,
it's
and I think
wow.
that with the divine wealth frequency, I think that's probably a good map for people to be able to, have that money feeling where they feel safe and they feel sustainable and they feel aligned to their money vibration.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, they can download it. It's free. I mean, they can start going through it. And then what's really awesome is if then they're like, hey, I want to do more. I want to go deeper here. They bring what they learned in that process with them. And we have a conversation around it. We can get to some answers for them really fast because I've been doing this for so long, not realizing it was a whole process that I was using because it was something I was doing more instinctively. And one time a client was like, how did you know with me to do these things? And I'm like, well, let me think about it. So I kind of slowed it down in my mind. I'm like, oh, okay, I have a process for this. So I pulled it apart and then showed them, and they're like, that makes so much sense. That's one of the like gifts that I have, that I can go through and see like the process in something really quickly. And then I can teach people about themselves because I can feed it back to them with no emotional attachment to what the outcome is. And they're like, that made sense. And now I understand how to do these things. So I'm kind of the bridge between where they are now and where they want to be, which is so
that's
fun.
awesome. Absolutely awesome. If you want to find Kirstin, you can find her on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and evolveminded.podbean.com. And you have a map that you would like to share with our audience today.
Yeah, they can go to evolveminded.com/map. I made it as simple as I could. So evolveminded.com/map.
Wonderful. Kirstin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. And I look forward to sharing your episode in the coming weeks.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye for now.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts with Rose Davidson, the podcast that brings you real stories, bold insights, and strategies that work. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube or your favourite podcast channel so you never miss an episode, and dive into our full library anytime at talkingwiththeexperts.com. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep talking with the experts.